as time flies by, you'll open up your eyes wide. You feel it's gonna go your way. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. Hey, 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 it's a brand.
Welcome back to Marbella Now. My name is Nicole King, and I'm very delighted to welcome back to the programme, and the first time into the RTV Marbella studios, Carol Woolnoth, one of the most active members of Age Concern Marbella San Pedro. Carol, welcome back. Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Lovely to be here.
It's really nice to have you here in the studio, and also having just seen you recently in the United Nationalities of Marbella Summit, the lovely luncheon at the harbour. Well done, the harbour. Absolutely. Wasn't it delicious?
Yes, it was.
They outdid themselves, I
A
thought.
lovely meal and a lot of very committed people attending as well.
I thought it was so nice to see that each year the charities are more interested in each other and realise they have more in common with each other, and that really this hashtag Better Together works, that we really
Indeed.
can rely on each other a lot more than perhaps we thought so previously.
And also I think that perhaps different age groups didn't realise how they could help one another, and certainly for us we had a lovely initiative with Aloha College visiting one of our local residential homes for the elderly. Obviously, because of the pandemic, that's been suspended, but it worked really well, and we're looking forward to the day when we can actually resume that, because the girls who came from Aloha also, that is part of their work for their baccalaureate, for helping out in the community. So it helps both ways.
I have to say that when I was, I think, 14, my school started taking us on a bus on Thursdays to old age homes, and we would stay and we would chat with people. I remember my lady in particular used to talk through a hole in her apron, and it was quite unsettling, I think, at first. Yes. But undoubtedly, I learned not to be scared of old people, and that they have a lot of interesting stories to share.
Yes, indeed. And the energy of those young people noticeably lifted the whole group in the residential homes. And that one tends to forget, people think of them as old people, but actually they are just people, and they've all got some wonderful stories to tell about their lives and what they've lived through, and it can be absolutely fascinating.
Age is interesting. I mean, I think of the movie Benjamin Button, and he goes from being born as an old man and then getting younger as he grows up. But really, it's quite synonymous, the capabilities.
Incapacity?
Yeah, I mean, between the Spanish, incapacidades. And I was trying to think, how do you say that in English? But when you're a baby and as you get older, some of those issues are similar, but it doesn't mean you're less of a person, less valid. We wouldn't underappreciate a baby because it can't do certain things for itself. No. And yet when we get older, it's almost like sometimes you put away and forgotten, and no, you still need stimulus, friendship, yes, entertainment, stimulus for the brain.
Absolutely. And I think we're very lucky as we are living here in Marbella, because the Spanish have a huge appreciation for their elderly relatives, and it's part of the general culture in Spain that they take care of their elderly, and so many families are still living close to one another, and they can help their elderly relatives in a way that in the UK very often that's not possible anymore, because people have spread out so widely they don't even live in the same area.
It's a shame when you don't have that family support, but that's why Age Concern is such a big, important part of our community. Yes. The Age Concern that I know of with you and Tom and the team was officially presented to everyone in 2016 at our first United Nationalities Summit in Laude. In the last 4 or 5 years, you guys have just done amazing things. You have a drop-in centre. You've arranged with animals to be visiting some of the aged care homes, and you've done all kinds of things. So tell us a bit about the last 4 or 5 years?
Wow. Well, as you say, we started really from nothing, and we were very lucky because we had people who had come to us with experience, like Stephen Brooksbank, who is very sadly missed now, of course. But he kept us all very much on the right road and encouraged us where necessary and held us back, because I do have a tendency to kind of leap in and want to help people, and sometimes it's not the right thing to do. We have to be quite careful to find out the background of people and find out what their needs are, rather than perhaps rushing too soon and doing the wrong thing. So we have quite a few people who are here on their own. They may have come with a partner, with a husband or wife, and then when one dies, they're left alone. Some of our really elderly ladies, certainly in the beginning, their whole lives had been organised by their husbands. You know, when you get into your 90s, those ladies, some of them didn't even know how to get money out of the bank. It's a devastating thing to be left alone when you've been cared for your whole life. Some, of course, have family here, but working full time, and are left home alone in a very real sense. And some people have no family here at all. They may have family in the UK, but they may have no one whatsoever. One of the people that I visited for about 18 months, when I first started seeing him, he was 98, and he had lost his partner 4 years before and was completely alone, apart from the man who came to collect the rubbish on a Friday afternoon. He saw no one, spoke to no one. If I didn't go, he hadn't got a person to speak to all week. And the stories that he told about his life were just fascinating. He had been a fabric designer for Liberties of London.
Wow.
But no one would have known locally, you know.
So that's one of the things, sometimes we come to retire in an area with our partner, very happy, but then, as you say, one of them passes away and the other one's left without that family infrastructure.
Yes.
Or social infrastructure because they've moved away.
Yes.
And again, it becomes very scary. The thing I really admire with Age Concern, apart from which we will talk about again, loneliness and the things you offer for that, but on financial terms, as you were mentioning, people not knowing how to deal with things, also being very susceptible to people leading them astray, offering help, and then being robbed blind, because I know you have personal experience with that also through Age Concern.
Yes, we have a number, 4 at least, that I can think of immediately. People who have been either subject to an attempted fraud or actually defrauded, for being persuaded into an investment that they shouldn't have done, with somebody that wasn't trustworthy, someone who was actually taken to a notary to have their will changed and leave money to the person who took them, and they took them to a notary where there was no lift, so he couldn't go up. He was reliant on them to tell the notary what to put in the will, and then just they brought the will down to be signed. Somebody who was friendly with a person for more than 20 years, who tried to persuade them to change their doctor, persuade them to change their bank account, and effectively create a new identity. Now, fortunately, the family found out about that, and the gentleman whose will was changed, I found out about, and we were able to put those things right. But if people are really lonely and they are really dying for some kind of communication with other people, then of course if you come to the door, or if even it's worse when it's somebody that they know, because they think it's a friend and they think they're being marvellous and helping them, and actually there is an underlying financial motive. So it's very difficult.
Having Age Concern to be able to at least contact and discuss it with, talk it through, get some feedback, recommendation, because I know even when I'm looking for people through the office, you want them to be right. You want them to solve the problem.
Yes.
And so you're looking for it to be okay. You're not looking, and when things aren't right, oh, but you want it to be right. And unfortunately, the older we get, the more susceptible,
Indeed.
perhaps.
Indeed, that's true. And just the loneliness encourages people to spend time with and talking to the people who apparently are there to help them, so that they get kind of sucked into this problem, and it is a huge problem. And when you consider that the few people, relatively, that we've managed to help, people who are visited at home, then to have 4 or 5 people who have actually been subject to this kind of abuse, and it is an abuse, is quite shocking, really.
I think before we go to messages from our sponsors, as we're talking about people coming to the home and loneliness and how grateful people are to have a visit, we also have to be careful now, particularly with the current situation, again, that we need to be in our homes by 10 o'clock, can't leave the house till 7, COVID, a lot of scaremongering also, that no one should open their home to anybody coming under the pretext of checking gas, electricity, COVID testing. I mean, this is something I don't know how I can implore you enough to share with all your members and staff and everybody else.
It's something that we're very much aware of. And I would like to stress that anybody who has a visit from an age-concerned volunteer, everybody has a photo ID card, which is certified either by myself or by the president. And so if anybody is in any doubt at all you have to do is ask to see the photo ID, and you can be sure that that person is genuine.
And if someone comes to your door and says they want to come in for any reason, you're in your full right to not let them in. Leave the door closed, and if any doubt, just ring the police and say, this is the person at the door, or ring the company they're supposed to come from, but please do not let anyone in your house. I can't tell you how many people show up, and the more forceful they are, the less you should let them in. Anyway, we'll be back with Carol Woolnoth in just a moment. Don't go away. We're going over now to some messages from our sponsors.
Judy likes to consider herself a clever young woman, which is why she thought very carefully before choosing her insurance company. Now that she needs it, she's jolly glad she chose Linear Director, as it looks as if she might have something better to do. Why don't you be clever, like Judy? Call Linear Director on 952 14 78 34 and see which policy is best for you.
When I'm the designated driver, I think it's only fair that I get to choose a zero-hero venue that rewards me with free soft drinks. My friends all get to choose and booze, and they feel safe going home with me. Make sure that you get your reward for being the designated driver. Why pay if you don't have to?
Zero Hero, welcome to the playwright.
Hello guys, welcome to Harbor. All the designated drivers are welcome here to the Harbor. We are very proud to be a Zero Hero partner.
G-Wine is happy to be Zero Hero partner.
Hi guys, Ross here from Hogan Stand. Proud to be a member of the Zero Hero campaign. And we recommend everybody, nobody drives drinking. Everybody who drives a car doesn't have any alcohol in their system, and we're proud to sponsor the Zero Hero program.
We're very grateful and proud to all our sponsors for supporting our Zero Hero incentive. Great Zero Hero partners. Go to zerohero.es and check them out. Well, we're back with Carol Woolnoth in the studio, active volunteer for Age Concern Marbella San Pedro. We've been chatting about so many things, the vulnerabilities of being old, but perhaps now it'd be nice to talk about the good things that Age Concern are doing to help out. So, for example, let's start with volunteers. Really nice that Dr. Rachel Garrett has been giving training courses for the volunteers, which is important, obviously.
Yes, well, as you said, we haven't been in existence very long, our branch. And when I first joined, I felt that I was kind of chucked in the deep end a little bit. So I had various issues that arose with the people that I was visiting, and we decided that it was very important that people should have a basic training about what to do and what not to do, because things don't work exactly the same in Spain as they do in the UK. We all expect, those of us who are British, that, you know, everything is exactly the same but in a different language, but of course it's not like that. So for instance, if somebody's had an accident in their home and you need to ring the emergency services, and they subsequently die, which fortunately, I have to tell you, it doesn't happen very often, but if, you need to be aware that you mustn't sign anything, because signing something in those circumstances, you could be held responsible for the cost of the funeral. So we need to tell them things like that. We need to tell them that under no circumstances, even if the person is ill, should they take the debit card and go and get cash out of the bank with their PIN number, because you're then subject to all kinds of possible difficulties with the client, who may forget that they've told you, and may wonder, you know, how it is you've got their PIN number.
Or family members.
Yes. So there are certain do's and don'ts that it's very important people have before they go and visit anybody. We always go with somebody the first time, so nobody is sent out alone. This is for both two reasons. First, for the volunteer, so that they're comfortable and they get to know the person, like as we are talking now. And secondly, because as people get older, very often they become more paranoid and quite rightly have worries about meeting new people. So it's very good for them to meet with somebody that they already know, to be introduced to a new person, so that they have their worries assured as well.
What kind of tasks are required from a volunteer?
Well, it varies enormously. We have one lady who just misses speaking English because she's now, having lost her husband, surrounded by a lovely Spanish family who do all kinds of things for her, and her Spanish has improved no end, but she actually had nobody to speak English to. We have quite a number of people who need to have shopping done for them. That's probably once a week, or to go to the doctor, or maybe a trip to the hospital, where they need somebody who can help them by speaking Spanish. So those things are important as well. We were very, very lucky. During the lockdown, we had a number of people who came forward who obviously realised that we would struggle and we would need new volunteers. And so those people mostly work. So they're a younger generation, which is great for our future as an association. And they can, because we are not allowed to move again from one municipality to another, so we need a spread of volunteers in different areas. Wherever possible, we try and get a volunteer who's very close to the client, so that it's less hassle for them, but also in case we go back into a lockdown, because it was very strict, as you know, here. And also we were told that we were not really welcome to have people over 60 going visiting because of the virus, and people being very worried about elderly people catching it because they become very ill. So there are multiple reasons why we need people to help out in different areas. At the moment, we could really do with some more people in the Cancelada, Bel Air kind of area, which is Estepona, but only just, because our area goes as far as Cancelada and the other side as far as the English International College.
It's a large extent. I mean, it's like 20, nearly 30 kilometres to cover.
Indeed. But we're very lucky. We have several volunteers now in the Marbella area who are willing to go that way. And, of course, Marbella itself spreads a long way. So even though I'm based in Guadalmina, but I can still come, if necessary, into Marbella, although not if we're in a lockdown again. So other things I tend to take over the things like Spanish paperwork, if there's that sort of thing. So on Friday, I'm taking somebody to apply for residencia. And we've got all the paperwork together, and we have a wonderful hair store who's collaborating with us to help and doing a very special price for our clients. So the ordinary volunteers are not normally expected to do that. Sometimes people just want company, somebody to go for a walk with. Even if they have family here, we have a number of people who suffer from dementia of one sort or another. And it's a huge responsibility for the people who are caring for them to be there for them 24 hours a day. So anybody who can go and visit and just take that person out for a walk or for a coffee, just to give a little bit of relief to the principal carer is an enormous help.
Why is it, Carol, that people, let's say family members, because I understand you're giving care to people who are over a certain 55.
Yes.
But I know a friend of mine who's running herself ragged trying to look after her elderly parents while she works. They live quite a long way away from each other. And I've suggested, why don't you give Age Concern a call in your area, let them help you. And I see even she doesn't want to be a bother. No, that's for somebody else. Do you find this in general, that when you're offering your help, that perhaps people aren't realizing, yes, I mean, you are entitled to call, ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for someone to go shopping for you, visit your parents?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a case in point of a very elderly gentleman in his 90s whose daughter lives here but works full time, and clearly the amount of time she can spend with him is very limited. And when she's working, he's all alone. So as people get older, they don't necessarily mellow. Some people can get more crotchety and more set in their ways, I suppose. But, you know, we are there with no ulterior motives other than to entertain a little bit, to fill those empty moments in their lives. And you can, over a period of time, establish a very good relationship with people.
You establish a great relationship with everybody. Your disposition is so sunny and shiny, so I don't know if you've always been like this. I mean, who was Carol as a little girl? Where do you come from? I mean, who are you?
Well, I was born in Shoreham in Sussex. And as a child, no nickname really stuck, but I was called Smiler at one point, and so that seems to have been with me forever. I lived most of my early years on the Hampshire-Sussex border, between Petersfield and Midhurst. I went away to boarding school at 15 for a couple of years in St Catherine's School at Guildford, just outside Guildford.
Oh, well, near me.
Which was a fantastic academic school, but very rigid. We were wearing, we're not allowed to wear our own underwear or things like that. No radios, because those were the days of listening to Radio Caroline and Radio Luxembourg and things like that. That was completely banned. And then I did my 2 sixth form years in boys' public school. I was one of the first 6 girls. And that was great fun, really good fun. That was down in Roosden, just the other side of Lyme Regis in Dorset. And the building was right on the edge of the cliffs. So that's the Fossil Coast, so lots of interesting things there. Then I went to university in Leeds and read English and researched a little bit about my family, who all came from the north of England, which is why I'm a Manchester United supporter. My mother was born in Salford in Manchester, so it's kind of compulsory, really. Then I worked with my mother in the family business. She ran a sawmill.
Wow, that's quite a business for a woman.
Yeah, well, a sort of Scarlett O'Hara, really, isn't it? And then once she left and came to Spain, when she sold the land that the business was on, and I continued the business in rented premises. And eventually, when I left my first husband, I came home to my mother, who happened to be in Spain at the time.
But here in Marbella or somewhere else?
To Marbella, in Nueva Andalucía.
Which was still Spain. And which year was this?
This was 1987.
So it was still Spain back then?
Yes. I had 2 children who were 4 and 6, and they came with me. And I have to say, making a living in those days in Spain was not an easy thing to do. Technically, you had to have a work permit because they weren't part of the EU, and without a work permit, you couldn't get a job, and vice versa. So it was a bit of a struggle at times.
Been there, done that, worn the T-shirts. Yeah. Here the same years. It's funny that you don't meet up then, but then meeting up all these years later.
Well, I did all sorts of things, from fitting water purifiers and, you know. But I got a big break when I got a job with Christina Steckely.
Yes, wonderful.
And I was based at a development the other side of San Pedro, near Laguna Village, called Dominion Beach.
With Keith?
And I was based in Dominion Beach.
Wonderful.
And then when that was sold out, we'd also got a number of management clients who I signed up. And I started my own property management and rental business with Christina's blessing, because she hadn't got another job for me at the time. So, and then I did that for 20 odd years, and then I sold the business in 2016 and retired. So I wasn't going to sit at home and do nothing. And Stephen Brooksbank recruited me to go and work for Age Concern. And his initial interest was that I would do the training. But of course, it's become so much more than that now.
You do everything. I mean, I know that you were very instrumental in getting the drop-in centre that you have in San Pedro and the office that you have there. And obviously now with the restrictions, can people go? Is it open?
Well, no. We've been very, very lucky with the support we've had from Marbella Town Hall. And our drop-in centre now is actually in the town hall of Nueva Andalucía, which is in La Campana. And they've been marvellous, and they've now found us a little room with a little storeroom attached to it, which we will have all for ourselves. We've taken the decision at the moment, with the new restrictions in force, that we really don't think it's the right time to start up the drop-in centre when the whole object of the restrictions is to reduce the amount of people that you're dealing with. So it's on hold.
But in the meanwhile, you can speak on the phone, you can get someone to come and visit you, help with shopping, whatever, even if it's just for a chat, you're there.
Absolutely. We have a number of people who really want to speak to people on the phone. If you're home alone and you have no one to talk to, please ring our helpline number. I know you will put it up on the strip on the picture. They are willing and wanting to ring people and cheer them up on the telephone if you're home alone and can't get out. We've also got very committed volunteers who want to come and do home visits. Please don't feel that just because you have a friend or two, if you need help, that you can't ring. We're there for everybody. It doesn't even matter if you have some family. Those family probably are occupied with raising their own family or even working full-time. So please, if there's anybody that you know or you yourself need help, don't hesitate to ring our number, because we're there for everyone.
What beautiful words and what wise words, because I think, again, people think, no, as they've got me, I shouldn't ring. But no, you don't have to cope on your own. Yeah. Carol, thank you so much. The time has flown by. God bless you. Thank you for everything you do. I'm glad to see you so busy and so happy. Smiler. Yeah. I got you now. And thank you for joining us for today's show. Please do contact Age Concern for friends, for family, just for chat. And we'll be back tomorrow with more. Take care for the meanwhile.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
We can change if we try. Just believe.